On February 2nd, 2022, just about a month before filming this, I decided to tell the world that I quit my very prestigious job at Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, the big healthcare company with all of the great benefits and pay for their employees. I quit. You can find that video up here or in the description below. But in that video, I gave you 3 lessons that I learned during that experience. But in this video, I wanted to talk to you about why I chose not to have a backup job or a backup plan after I left J&J. So I do want to preface this video by saying that not everyone has the privilege of doing this. People have kids, mortgages to pay, and families to take care of. We all gotta do what we gotta do, right? Now, if you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Hetal, and I'm a South Asian millennial who has recently just quit her very stable corporate job at Johnson & Johnson and is currently trying to figure out what the hell she's doing with her life. Yeah, the struggle is very real, but that is for another video, which is why you should subscribe. What are you waiting for? Why did I choose, keyword choose, to quit without a backup plan, without a job in line? The number one reason I would say is because I was so burnt out and I honestly just needed a break. For a whole year, I was put in a situation where I was driving on average of 20 hours a week. And it came to the point where I was having massive panic attacks and almost fell into a depression. And it was because I felt as if I had no control over my life. And I felt like my life on an everyday basis was to wake up, drive to the hospital where I was going to work, and then work, drive all the way back home, and eat, sleep, rinse, repeat every single day. And I felt as if I was grinding towards a goal that really, honestly, didn't really mean much to me. So after a lot of contemplation and a lot of grief, so much grief, I decided I needed a break. And so here we are. And in this break that I am taking, I am really just trying to focus on rest because it's something that I don't know how to do. A lot of South Asians, Asians in general, I feel, have this programming that we have to just work really hard and overwork and do so that we can just prove ourselves to society. And when we have a break, it's almost hard for us to even take that break seriously and rest. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. The second reason was I felt like I was searching for something that I couldn't ultimately find in corporate America. And I think that this reason is a bit more existential, but I've always felt as if I was made for so much more. I've always had an intuitive feeling that I was just meant to do much more than what I was doing at my corporate job. And I felt like I was just looking for something that would make me happy, that would make me feel fulfilled and purposeful every single day. And I just felt like I wasn't finding it. And that I was looking for something outside of myself that I just couldn't find. So I had to start asking myself if this was it, or if I would be happy doing this for the rest of my life, whether it be an R&D engineer or working in sales or in quality. And I would look at my superiors and ask myself if that was the job I wanted to do in a few years. And I felt like the answer was always no. So I chose to quit and take this time to figure it out. And if you're still watching, I want to say thank you so much. If you've liked this video so far, please go ahead and hit that like button down below so that I can reach more people like you. The third reason why I chose to quit without having a backup plan was because I don't think I ever wanted to be an engineer in the first place. This is honestly something that I've had a really hard time with. And the real story is that I chose to study biomedical engineer because I thought that that could take me to medical school. And I saw so many people doing that. I thought that that was the smart way to go. And so I went to RPI, declared my major as a biomedical engineer. And all throughout this time, I had this feeling, this little inkling, that feeling, that gut feeling that you have where it tells you that this is not what you're meant to do. You're not going to end up going to medical school. And I remember on my sophomore year, I was like, no, I can't, medical school is not going to happen. I can't, I'm not going to do it. And I had a little bit of a mid-college crisis because I ultimately realized that medical school wasn't for me, but then I was almost stuck in this engineering route and I didn't know how to get out, so I just continued to do it. And throughout this time, I never really asked myself if engineering was my true passion. I never asked myself if this was actually what I wanted to do. And so I felt incredibly stuck in the field of engineering and told myself that I would just do it. I would just continue on. I would get my degree, however hard it was, because college was hard, engineering was hard, and I felt like every class that I took was really difficult. But I got through it. I got through it. And so I quit my job at J&J because this is the time that I want to take to really ask myself, what is my passion? What do I love doing on a daily basis? What would I be excited to do every morning? And if I just got another job, then I don't think that I would give myself time to think about this. And the fourth reason is that I didn't want to make another impulsive decision with a job again. And I think this is really important because the last time I made a very impulsive job decision, I ended up burnt out and having quit my job. Something that a very wise person in my life would tell me to do is always think about your next move and give it time to simmer. Sleep on it and think about it for a couple weeks, even a month, to see if this is actually the right choice. Because an idea or desire might look really good on paper or in that moment, but it ultimately might be more detrimental in the long run. If you know me, you know that I'm a very impulsive and spontaneous person, and I do think it's a great quality in me because it helps make life exciting. But in the case of your career, making an impulsive job change or shift can hurt if it doesn't end up being what you thought it would be in the beginning. So instead of jumping to another job because I wanted to escape my current situation, that's really what it was. I wanted to escape. I decided to take a step back and really think about what I wanted my career to look like. Trust me, this is really incredibly hard to do, especially if you thought that by now you'd be happy and climbing the corporate ladder to whatever it is you call success. Now, the fifth and final reason is that I ultimately wanted to stop conforming to societal norms. This is probably the hardest thing to do, especially when you thought growing up that by 30 you'd be a manager at a great company with family and kids and all of that stuff. And ever since I was 18, I always had a plan. But what I realized is that every time I would make a plan, the plan would never follow through. But ultimately, all I know is that I don't want to be grinding at a job where I would get little to no reward in the end. And I think that grinding and paying your dues is such an old mentality. I believe that there are other ways to build wealth. And I think that we're moving into a time where people are realizing this and people are realizing that there is a better way. You know, especially after the pandemic, a time when we honestly had to be with ourselves and ask ourselves those really hard questions. Who am I? What am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? Am I happy? So I quit without having a backup job because I didn't want to concede to what society tells me is normal. Because working yourself into the ground until you are clinically depressed is not normal. Not being able to see your family because you ran out of vacation days is not normal. Not being able to take care of yourself because a job gave you unrealistic deadlines is not normal. And putting unnecessary pressure on yourself because you were supposed to hit certain goals by a certain age is not normal. So, why do we ultimately think that this is normal? It isn't. Don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to be happy before you die? There's so many people who say, oh, I'm going to work really hard for an amazing retirement. But what if something happens before you're able to retire? I've heard way too many stories of people getting into car crashes or getting cancer and passing away just like 2 or 3 years before they were able to ultimately retire. What about being happy right now? So yeah, those were my 5 biggest reasons as to why I chose not to have a backup plan or a job after I left J&J. If this video resonated, let me know in the comments below. I want to connect with you. And once again, I hope you subscribe. It would really help me reach more people like you. And I'll leave you with this last message. You are doing amazing. Everything will and is working in your favor. Just trust the process. I'll see you in the next one.